Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends and colleagues, dear participants, it is my great pleasure and honor to welcome you to our panel, the Business, Partner and Stakeholder for Governmental Reforms. Let me introduce myself. My name is Ion Lupan. I'm the head of the Secretariat of the Economic Council to the Prime Minister, a public-private dialogue platform in our country. Here, business associations meet state bodies to discuss identified problems and, together with the development partners and research institutions, find mutually acceptable solutions. Control bodies reform, business permits reform, one-stop shop in business reporting, improving access of foreigners to Moldovan labor market and streamlining construction procedures. All these are just some of 125 pro-business reforms promoted by the members of the Economic Council in the last 3 years. The speakers of this panel, which I'm going to introduce to you one by one during the session, represent probably most vocal and active business associations in the country, and by the way, they're also members of the Economic Council to the Prime Minister. So, intense discussions, sometimes contradictory, with competing arguments, impact assessment. This is how I would describe the dialogue between business and authorities when promoting a reform on our platform or any other. And this proves that Moldovan business is no longer the same as it was 20 years ago. Young, shy, often confused in front of authorities. The Moldovan business has a rather strong voice today, I would say. And it is being heard, and most importantly, is being listened by the government. We intentionally did not invite any politician or official to our panel to tell you how good the investment climate in Moldova is and to try to persuade that you will not find a better place on the planet Earth to invest. What we did for this panel, we invited only those who represent businesses, and they will tell us what the dialogue between the state and business truly looks like. And to break the ice, I want to give the floor to Mila Malaireu, the Executive Director of the American Chamber of Commerce. Mila, what are, in your opinion, the challenges, risks for potential investors in Moldova? How do you mitigate those in your interaction with the authorities?
Thank you, Ion. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as promotion of investment is an essential part of MCHAM mission in Moldova, and being personally involved in fighting for a better business climate, it is a pleasure for me to be one of the speakers in this panel within Moldova Business Week 2020 and share with you some views about the advantages of Moldova investment climate, but also refer to several challenges that an investor may inspect, and also refer to the assistance that you may get from a business association here in Moldova. In case you are now with us online or watch this event recorded, you probably explore the investment potential of Moldova. And probably you also assess these potentials and the way those potential prevails over the existing country risk. And yesterday you have heard a lot of attractions of Moldovan investment climate. Of course, you have noticed the EU proximity to Moldovan EU proximity and CIS countries proximity, a very advantageous tax regime, including the unique ecosystem as Moldova IT Park or free economic zones. And of course, you may benefit here from the exploration of certain natural resources. Many of you, of course, may be interested in the availability of human capital with multilingual abilities and so on and so forth. Moreover, we feel that Moldova came into focus now during the pandemic, and we believe that now, maybe even more than ever, Moldova can receive a great dose of foreign direct investments. This is happening because big corporations are trying to secure their supply chain by relocating certain production premises or labor closer to Europe. Now, anticipating this, I should reasonably accept that investing in Moldova is associated with certain risks that shouldn't be overlooked. And hence, I would like to present further several possibilities for you to protect your business here and to mitigate those risks. And first, I would like to mention the existence here in Moldova of consolidated business communities of domestic investors and foreign investors. And here in front of you, you can see many associations that represent those communities. And all those communities, they have got, as Ion mentioned, a very strong voice already in the public-private dialogue, and also they get a great support from the donors and diplomatic community. From this perspective, AmCham is a growing business community since 2006. And we represent multiple industries, and we are currently encountering more than 140 members. We are a diverse and international community. Of course, we have very strong ties with US Embassy here. However, we are independent, non-political, we are trusted by partners. And what is most important is that we here are governed by the clear, transparent rules. And we also practice the same advocacy techniques as other AmChams in the world. So being part of such a community for an investor would offer a feeling of security, a feeling of comfort, a feeling of being among peers while being abroad. And of course, on behalf of our members, we are constantly screening the quality of business climate. And we strive to support the positive changes and reforms, but also what we are doing, we are striving to diminish the impact, the potential negative impact of any policies and regulations of business. And our activity is very multi-aspectual, and our advocacy activity is very extensive. However, within this conference, I would like to draw your attention to four essential areas that you may benefit from while coming as an investor in Moldova. So first of all, it is important to mention that we deploy efforts to maintain a hospitable climate for investment, even in a volatile political environment. We have just undergone presidential elections, and of course many businesses may refrain from long-term strategic investments, considering that after elections Moldovan political orientation and economic policies and stabilities are of course uncertain. Well, despite this, I consider that in Moldova we've got a set of tools that by operating those tools, we can eliminate or diminish the related uncertainties. And here I'd like to mention several things. So first of all, in Moldova, there is a very strong legislation in place for transparency in decision-making process. And we are benefiting a lot from that legislation. It is obligatory for all public institutions to assure public consultations for any single piece of legislation that is related to business activity. That gives the possibility for businesses and business associations to of course, point to the fact that those regulations may be detrimental for certain industries or business activity. That also, it gives us the possibility to timely inform businesses about changes in legislation and of course, eliminate any negative impact, regulatory impact of that legislation. And here, of course, helpful are those platforms such as Economic Council to the Prime Minister or other advisory councils where all business associations can be member of. And these are the platforms where we can voice a potential detrimental impact, or where we can even block several new pieces of legislation that may have negative impact on the business. The second thing is, of course, the possibility of proactive actions of different business associations to update or to harmonize the legislation, local legislation, to EU legislation. But not only, we also can implement here world best practices. And that's important because while coming in this country, an investor having a very familiar regulatory framework, it feels, so the investor may feel more secured and may feel the ease to comply to this legislation. And the third and important thing is about the possibility for us business associations to secure involvement and support from donors and diplomatic community. And here I'd like to mention a very strong relationship to the US Embassy and USAID, and I would like to thank those institutions for their strong support in advancing the positive reforms of business climate. And in critical situation, what we can also do, and it is worth being mentioned to all potential investors, we of course are helping raising public awareness to protect investors against potential abuse of their rights or unequal treatment. Second, very important area is the possibility to promote alternative dispute resolution mechanisms. Though declared a priority in our country, judicial reform unfortunately is going very slowly and sometimes is inconsistent. So we realize that it's very important for foreign investors to have access to settle disputes without litigation via efficient and independent platforms. And here are two very good opportunities. One thing is to remain active within the existing dispute resolution councils under different government institutions where, for instance, tax service or customs service, where business is also present and can monitor the attitude to the investor. And the other thing is, of course, the existence of arbitration courts in the Republic of Moldova, mediation centers, one of them being also the International Arbitration Court under AmCham, and many AmCham members are using the arbitration clause in their contracts to protect themselves. One thing is very important also, for those especially who come to benefit from the human capital here, is to have the efficient legislation governing labor relations. And it may become a very important news for you that every year business associations may have the possibility to participate in negotiations within the tripartite working group with government and labor unions to modernize the labor legislation. And the newest things that have been recently improved and maybe of interest for you are, of course, the implementation of teleworking in our labor legislation. In the pipeline, we have the implementation of the temporary agency work. And what is also very important is the upcoming negotiations about the inclusion of in-employment agreements of non-compete clause. Well, this being said, I'd like to stop here, and I'd like to wish you to find your right deal, as it has been mentioned previously by one of the colleagues from USAID. Thank you.
Thank you, Mila, for this comprehensive opinion, and let's move on to the next panelist. Over the years, the European Business Association is known for being a strong promoter of the European values, as well as the active supporter to the implementation of the free trade agreement with the European Union, also involved in attracting European investments in Moldova, and so on. Mariana Rufa, the executive director of this association, can tell you a lot about collaborating with customs service, with National Authority for Food Safety, and everything concerning the trade facilitation issues. Mariana, how would you describe your current agenda of reforms?
Thank you very much, Ion. First of all, dear Rodica, dear team of the Investment Agency of Moldova, please allow me to express our sincere congratulations for the whole excellent work about organizing such an animated event in such an isolated world in which we have all turned up. Secondly, I'd like to mention that the most important news for the foreign investors that maybe have not heard about Moldova is that the Republic of Moldova is on European path, European integration path. And 6 years ago, the Republic of Moldova signed the association agreement with its component part, Title V, Deepen Comprehensive Free Trade Agreement, which is a strong prerequisite and catalyzer for a value chain development, hence job creation and growing revenues to the budget, and as a consequence, boosting foreign trade of a much higher quality local goods and services onto the European market, which is the worldwide biggest market, but also international markets. Alongside, with an increase of foreign trade by at least 40% since the Deepen Comprehensive Free Trade Agreement was signed, the Republic of Moldova committed to design and implement a dynamic policy agenda, thus aligning the Moldovan legislation to the EU acquis communautaire, which de facto means a more enabling and friendly business environment for the European and international investors. In this regard, the European Business Association, which I have the great honor to represent, as for today, counts more than 85 member companies, these being local and international companies operating in the Republic of Moldova, but also outside, who decided to join our association because in the context of practical implementation of the Deep and Comprehensive Free Trade Agreement, the EBA is here to support them in practical terms by also being embarked on a very active policy agenda that the government has committed to implement. In this regard, EBA is the member, as Ion has mentioned, of the Prime Minister Economic Council, as well as many other public institutions, platforms, in which we are actively, jointly with other colleagues from other business associations, promote a very serious agenda of reforms, specifically in our case, related to implementation of DCFTA. I'd like to also mention that EBA today is offering a wide range of services, and we are happy that our investors stay with us because we are doing very concrete things in helping them. For example, for certain companies that represent food processing sector, but also retail chain, we have help them in coming to Moldova, but also expanding in Moldova in the regions. As you all know, the regions, investments into the regions are a #1 priority for the country development as for the moment. However, the harmonization process of the reform agenda is a key priority for the investments, and it has to be sustainable, and it has to be tracked with very concrete results. That's the way we are judged by investors. Ion has successfully mentioned some of the results that we have already mentioned to achieve. However, dear investors, dear ladies, dear gentlemen, you would like to know what has been done under DCFTA. I would like to mention that, of course, certain things have been accomplished. Many things are still ahead of us, and we are all with our sleeves up and working on that. But we have to mention that also together with the reform, the European Union, as well as the EU delegation in Moldova, and under the auspices of the EU delegation in Moldova, also EBA is operating, we have managed to support the government institutions on the path of implementing the reform agenda, as well as a lot of support in financial terms has been provided by the European Union for the SMEs development and for the business development. Also, it is important to mention that the customs procedures have been simplified, which is very much, which is a very strong catalyzer for foreign trade development. And I would like to also mention that in the context of COVID, the customs service of the Republic of Moldova has expressed a high level of flexibility by accepting, for example, certificate of origin in electronic forms just to not to stop the foreign trade flows. It is also very important that the Republic of Moldova has managed to, in accordance to DCFTA, Deep and Comprehensive Free Trade Agreement, implement a certain range of standards for industrial goods and food products. This happened together with the metrology department, and of course significant changes have been made to the labor code, as my colleague has already mentioned, as well as many things have been launched with a view to regulatory reforms. And indeed, it is worth mentioning that in the Republic of Moldova, we are extremely proud to have a very transparent legal process development in which EBA, alongside with other business associations, play a very important role. Of course, a young state has vulnerabilities. However, today I want to succeed in converting these vulnerabilities into investment opportunities for you, dear investors. Let's take the education sector, human resource development and the education sector. The most important sector to invest and which will pay back shortly with multiple results in multiple economic dimensions, ranging from IT, engineering, microelectronics, medical sector, combined with IT solutions for lab tests, modern agriculture technologies. And you will have the demand, as unfortunately today in the Republic of Moldova we are lacking internationally recognized master's degrees programs, internationally recognized PhD programs, and due to the fact that most of the youngsters still are leaving the Republic of Moldova, with this upgrade of the education reform, you, dear investors, you will manage to keep those youngsters at home or to attract them back home and to ensure better education to the existing young population that we have in the country. Food safety and quality infrastructure reform. The food safety sector is backed up with a very strong support and the deep and comprehensive free trade agreement. Therefore, in the context of development of the food safety infrastructure, great and huge investment is welcome here, because in our neighbor states, as Romania is, this industry has been widely developed, and very many Moldovan food producers that are exporting onto the EU market, they are obtaining their lab tests in Romania because the results are internationally recognized. So why not to have this in Moldova? If to speak about the waste management system development in the context of a well-recognized eco-trend, this is a great area to consider. As for today, the Republic of Moldova has ensured all of the necessary legal amendments in the waste management legislation, and we are now, together with Ministry of Finance, trying to build the economic mechanism for the extended producer responsibility, which will foster the companies to become more responsible, but also to attract investment in the solid waste treatment, in the liquid waste treatment, which are so much necessary as a part of the infrastructure process. Artificial intelligence, big data analytics, mobile applications, still unexplored field in such areas, agriculture, food processing and production. If we consider such countries as India, Spain, other countries from Latin America, in which agriculture is very widely spread, I think that most of them, they have already proved that by implementing such technologies in these sectors, they will have a higher yield and they will be able to implement value chain agriculture, which is so much necessary in the Republic of Moldova, because in this way we will be able to export more. AML, anti-money laundering, compliance legislation, as well as GDPR, which are in process to be implemented in the Republic of Moldova. The legal framework has been already adjusted, generate the need for development of fintech opportunities and smart solutions, especially for the banking, insurance, financial market overall. You are most welcome to invest and to consider your investments here. Public sector and services digitalization, especially in the regions. Unfortunately, our local public authorities need support in digitalizing their public services, and dear investors, that's another option for you. Even if Moldova has still to perform in such areas as justice sector, rule of law, political stability, we are a young state. And, you know, any youngster commit mistakes, but it is important to treat these mistakes with trust. Please treat the Republic of Moldova with trust, because we've already proved in our presidential elections with a huge mobilization for the expressing of the democratic right of the Republic of Moldova that the change is possible. And first of all, it is possible for the future, to consider the future of the Republic of Moldova and for our future generation. So please treat us with with trust, treat our country and our people with trust, because the people are the biggest and most important resource of the Republic of Moldova, which is warmly welcome you here. The best is yet to come with your trust and choice for Moldova. Thank you.
Thank you, Mariana. Very dynamic and positive as always. Our next speaker is the Executive Director of Foreign Investors Association, Anna Groza. A very distinguished instrument of the association is the White Book, being a kind of a roadmap where we can find the challenges foreign investors are facing today, and also proposals to overcome those obstacles. Anna, we'd love to hear from you about the reforms your association has been promoting over the last period. So please, you have the floor.
Dear Ron, dear colleagues, distinguished audience, good afternoon. First of all, I would like to congratulate Moldovan Investment Agency team for such a great business event, and to thank you for inviting me as a speaker here. Shortly about Foreign Investors Association, FIA, was created in 2003 with OECD support, being independent, apolitical, and that brings today only 20 members, but these are the biggest companies with foreign direct investments in the Republic of Moldova. These 20 companies have invested in Moldova at around 1.2 billion euros, and they provide more than 22,000 job places. FIA is a credible dialogue partner with authorities, being active on different dialogue platforms. As my colleague said, we are day by day working with public authorities, and as it was said, the most efficient dialogue platform is the Economic Council to the Prime Minister. And not because Ion is moderating this panel, but because indeed the most majority of the business initiatives are going analyzed, discussed, consulted through this platform. The White Book, as Ion said, it is a business card of the association. Yes, FIA is elaborating on a regular basis the White Book that consists not only of the impediments foreign investors are facing with, but also it consists and came with concrete proposals. What shall the authorities do in order to improve the business climate in the Republic of Moldova and to attract new investors? I would like to tackle today a few achievements that again also was realized on the Economic Council platform. That was after a long discussion, there was amended the legal framework on labor migration that allows to obtain and more easier stay and residence permits for foreigners. As a result, the term of issuing the permits were reduced by 2/3. The list of requested documents and procedures were simplified, and also the activity of Bureau of Migration and Asylum was optimized, and which is very important, the one-stop shop for foreigners were created. That means that the authorities pays a really separate attention for an investor. Today and yesterday, you have heard that Moldova has still a high potential of labor force, and in order to ensure started processes, to ensure the transfer of advanced knowledge and technologies, they were revised the list of priority occupations, which means that a qualified specialist can be imported and contracted much more easier. About the ongoing initiatives, as I said, we have the White Book in place with more than 100 proposals, but today I would like to tackle a few digital initiatives. Probably you have heard that recently the Ministry of Economy and Infrastructure has approved the roadmap on digitization, the economy and e-commerce, and we are very happy that many proposals included in the White Book were reflected in the roadmap. As of today, the roadmap does not cover two major components, e-health and education. We consider that an e-health strategy is a smart investment in the sector, and ICT will definitely improve the clinical practice and will bring benefits for the sector, for the patients, and for the business community overall. Much more can be done by using ICT results for diagnostic and treatment the patients. And this is very important in the context of the pandemic crisis when access to healthcare services are limited or reduced. Since 2010, there is an engagement of the development partners and national authorities to develop such an e-health strategy, which hasn't been approved so far. FIA uses this opportunity to reiterate its call on the line ministry to relaunch the integration of informational technologies in the healthcare sector. Modernizing and remodeling the education is a worldwide imperative. The need of a systemic approach was once again confirmed during COVID-19 pandemic. There are many challenges in adapting the education system, such as lack of digital accessibility and lack of literacy, lack of teachers in school, a lack of equal treatment and equal access to high-quality education for all people. In this regard, the association sent to the authorities a digital education concept that is designed as a support mechanism for the existing sector. We hope that the authorities will take in consideration these initiatives, and I invite other associations to join our efforts. At the final part of my speech, I would like to come up with a concrete case of the business association support and the negotiation discussions with our authorities. It is a success story of one of FIA members, MedPark International Hospital, being created in 2011. It is the first and the largest multidisciplinary international hospital in the Republic of Moldova. By the way, the hospital was accredited twice by the most prestigious international accreditation, the Joint Commission International. FIA support for the private healthcare sector, and namely for MedPark, was the demonopolization of oncological services by amending the legal framework which prohibited earlier the private healthcare sector to treat cancer. Now, as a result, in September this year, MedPark launched oncological center that are offering support and high-performance assistance for persons that are suffering from oncological diseases at all stages, including post-treatment monitoring. Now, along with the initiative to develop an e-health strategy and telemedicine concept, we are in close interaction with authorities just to design clear and transparent criteria for contracting healthcare services by the National Insurance Health Company. While more than 85% of Moldovans are part of this mandatory health insurance system, we consider that the public funds need to be allocated to the most trusted providers that can prove the efficiency and the quality of the provided services. And this can be done easy via very verifiable criteria. Also, one more positive thing about MedPark is that despite all the challenges, in May this year, MedPark team has launched the first project of the MedPark Foundation, Care for Colleagues. And as of today, more than 300 medical workers that were infected and suffered from severe forms of coronavirus were included in this project. So, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, by a concrete case, you can see the business association support and the interaction with the authorities. And we are lucky to have in place government officials that think pro business, that are very open, and they are reacting very fast at every business community appeals. Ladies and gentlemen, potential investors, we can conclude together that the investment climate in Moldova is attractive, and I invite you to come to Moldova and to join business local community. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Indeed, e-health and e-education, I guess, are the most important innovations that our society is being awaiting for in those turbulent times. But let's move forward. 48. This is the precise position of Moldova in Doing Business 2020 report. I want to emphasize that Moldova has increased by 16 positions in construction permits. For the first time in the last years, the country has advanced so much at this topic in the ranking from 172 to 156. We know that foreign investors are paying great attention to the evolution of the business climate in locations for potential investment, and this is why the international economic rankings are so important. Being given that in the last years the biggest investment projects implemented by European corporations are originating as business expansions mostly from Romania, we have invited Anastasia Sprâncean, Development Director of the Romanian Investors Association in the Republic of Moldova, to share their opinion on the priorities in the dialogue with the Moldovan authorities. Anastasia, the floor is yours.
First of all, I want to thank you for your invitation. Mr. Dan Nuțiu, the executive president, was not able to attend this remarkable event, and he asked me to express his sincerely regrets, and he sends you regards and best luck. At the beginnings, a little introduction about our association. The significant growth of the trade partnership between Moldova and Romania arose the need to create an entity to promote the interests of Romanian investors operating in Moldova. The Association of Investors from Romania and Republic of Moldova, short form AIR, is a Romanian business community for business owners and companies who are already in Moldova, as well as for potential investors from Romania who wants to integrate better into the Moldovan market. Another purpose is also offering support to Moldovan companies who want to enter Romanian market. The AIR family includes 26 members, successful companies who come from different fields of activity, both from Romania and from the Republic of Moldova. Now about AIR in numbers. AIR members' affairs value in Romania is around 16 billion euro. They provide more than 100,000 workplaces. In Moldova, the members' affairs value is 400 million euro and have more than 8,000 employees. At that moment, the investitions of our members in Moldova are around 120 million euro. Being the only association with a business profile dedicated especially to Romanian investors in the Republic of Moldova, AIR is the bridge between the business environment in both countries. The main purpose is representing, promoting and protecting the interests of Romanian investors in the Republic of Moldova. Also, AIR is like a dialogue platform between the central and local authorities and the Romanian investors for the improvement of the business climate. Development of partnership, cooperation and programs with public authorities helps the implementation of economic development projects. We promote fair competition according to the legislation, aiming to ensure equal opportunities for everyone. Incoming both the members of the association and other entities from Romania about the investment climate in the Republic of Moldova. Presence in various state advisory structures and legislative consultations keeps our members in touch with all legislation news. AIR is also the president of a working group called Advancing Moldova in International Economic Rankings from the Economic Council near the Prime Minister of Moldova. So, according to Doing Business 2020 indicators, the Republic of Moldova accumulated 74 and 4 points on general score, occupying 48th place for 190. It is encouraging that Moldova is situated on the highest ratings at the fields like starting a business, 13th place, registering property, 22nd place, and paying taxes, 33rd place. That only means that the economic reforms really works and Moldova is moving in the right direction. Our proposal is to promote Moldova also in other international rankings portals like Fitch, Moody's. I would like to mention that not only Romanian entrepreneurs, but also most of multinational companies use Romania like main platform to enter on Moldovan market, which makes the importance of our association to become major one, both in attracting and supporting potential investors from Romania and to promote Moldova as an investment destination in Romania. Further, I want to point some specific issues which AIR considers mandatory for increased competitiveness and attractiveness of the Republic of Moldova for foreign investors. Assuming the long-term economic objectives of the country by all political players and their observance regardless of the succession to governance. Business expansion and internationalization by supporting the association between entrepreneurs on both banks of the Prut River. Traffic fluidization on the Moldovan-Romanian border due to the significant trade growth between Republic of Moldova and European Union. Consolidation and decentralization of local public authorities, providing decision-making autonomy in relations with entrepreneurs wishing to invest in the region. Ensuring freedom and security of justice, eliminating corruption in the economic judicial relations. Thank you.
Many thanks, Anastasia, for your views and all your efforts to get Moldovan and Romanian business closer. Think small first. The principle relies on the fact that one size does not fit all. But a lighter touch approach can be beneficial to smaller businesses. And now we're going to speak about SMEs, since it is obvious that they play an important role in all the economies. I'd like to give the floor to Liliana Busuioc, the Executive Director of the Alliance for Small Enterprises from Moldova. Liliana, why would SME sector be of interest to potential investors? What are the perspectives you see?
Hello, dear ladies and gentlemen. Ioan, thank you very much. I am honored to be today here at Moldova Business Week and to talk about small businesses in Moldova. I am representing the Alliance of Small Businesses, and we are the voice that represents small companies. Our mission is to contribute to creating a business environment based on principles of fairness, transparency, and integrity. We work to create a better future for small businesses in Moldova. Currently, AIM represents companies with foreign and local capital from different industries. We represent companies from HoReCa, tourism, engineering, food industry, IT, services, retailing, and light industry. Many of you know that in the Republic of Moldova, almost 99% of the companies are small companies, and they employ 60% of the working force from the economy. In conditions of the declared world pandemic of COVID-19 virus, the effect of SMEs is especially severe, particularly because of their high levels of vulnerability and lower resilience related to their size. Despite of all this fact, Moldova has incredible human potential with talented, educated, and success-driven entrepreneurs from different industries that generate innovation and progress. Last years, we witnessed the growth of new emerging industries represented by the small businesses, like small wine producers, creative industries, craft beer producers, a whole artisan movement in food production and organic agriculture. There are success stories when Moldovan entrepreneurs developed internationally recognized and awarded products like lobster in industrial design or Arip in creative video production. The wine of our small producers are recognized and awarded at international contests. Just recently, one of our members, a craft beer producer, was awarded with a silver award at the European Beer Star, one of the most important competitions of the beer in the world. There are some companies that have innovated in finance, like created the first digital bank based on peer-to-peer lending technology, where people looking for loans at a lower interest rate than the financial market meet with investors interested in more consistent returns than bank deposits. These type of companies that have the potential and the dream to scale up and internationalize. There is a great example when small foreign investors contributed to entire ecosystem development. And here I can mention the story of Ecovisio, which has the focus to educate and focus on sustainable development, social entrepreneurship, green economy, and rural development. Entire actors are contributing to a startup ecosystem development such as Rocket Academy, Startup Moldova, ArtCore, XY Accelerator, and DreamUps. Moldova also can be a very attractive place to start a business and to test new ideas. We have talented and high-skilled people that speak 3 languages, while the cost of human capital resources is lower than other countries in the region. Moldova is in top 10 countries with the highest speed on the internet. In these conditions, it is cost-effective to pilot a business in Moldova if you want to scale it internationally. SMEs are affected by uncertainty and challenges to adapt too quickly to new realities. Therefore, the improvement of the business environment and the protection of the business rights is mandatory for an economic development and recovery. There are many challenges that slow down the development of SMEs in Moldova. Among the top of them is access to finance, regulatory burden, unloyal competition, and corruption. Support for SMEs finance is heavily donor-dependent, though the opportunities for foreign investment still stay valid. We, as an association, had a role to make the voices of small businesses heard. We stand as a voice for small businesses, passionately ready to partner with each Moldovan government, businesses, and developing partners to find the best outcomes for small businesses in Moldova. In the past years, with the efforts of all stakeholders that contributed to SMEs development, we initiated programs that reinforce SMEs digitalization, entrepreneurial learning, startup support for young entrepreneurs, expansion of the credit guarantee scheme, broadened e-government services, and a formalized public-to-government dialogue platform. Agriculture subsidies have stimulated investment in agriculture machinery. Free economic zones stimulated sectors have led to the emergence of emerging sectors with great export potential. Public investment in infrastructure roads have stimulated regional development. Social projects such as the First House have boosted the development of the sector of construction. The creation of IT parks brought in the formal sector the IT industry. We in AIM look forward, continuing and deepening cooperating with the Moldovan government on this front. But also we look forward to engage in dialogue with private investors and developing partners. Together, we can amplify the potential of our SMEs and support them to become big and scaled up. Thank you.
Many thanks, Liliana. Surprisingly or not, but Moldovan SMEs tend to be a promising and interesting instrument when talking about investment attraction. I wish you success in all your further initiatives. Dear friends and colleagues, Moldova is a young and emergent economy, is a post-Soviet state which has inherited many obsolete and sometimes weird rules and approaches that we are trying to get rid of. As you see, the private sector with its associative representation is an important element of our society that helps Moldova to become a state with clear, predictable, non-discriminatory rules which everyone can respect and follow, a state with a free economy where political changes do not affect the public policies that aim economic development. So this was briefly about the partnership that businesses have with the government in promoting reforms in Moldova that we wanted to share with you. I very much hope that the stories told by my colleagues helped you to create an impression about the way the private-public dialogue is being built here. We are at your disposal For further details on this issue, you can find our contact details on the event official page. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of the panel, but please stay with us further. In 5 minutes, the pitching session will start, and the next panel will present the investment profiles of Moldovan companies operating in the IT industry, a sector with a very dynamic development and that has a tremendous potential, investment potential that we invite you to explore. I'd like to thank my colleagues, all the panel speakers, for their interesting presentations, and all of you for taking time out of your busy schedules to be with us. So again, stay with us, please. The next session will start in several minutes. See you soon.
Belgium, what it makes attractive Moldova is the good knowledge of languages of the Moldavian people. Besides their own language, they speak also, most of them, English, some are speaking French, some are speaking German, I understood. Belgian companies who are already present here, they said that the people are also quite skilled, so good knowledge. That is very important. There are several fiscal advantages to come to Moldova. There are some special fiscal regimes for IT companies, which is also attracting Belgian IT companies to come here. By the way, tomorrow we open a Belgian IT company here in Chisinau. These are all strong points for Moldova. Then you have the several free zones, where is a big advantage for when you want to do export from Moldova to other countries. What is very interesting comparing to a country, Romania, foreign investors, they have the same rights as local investors, meaning on the amount of money that they want to put in the country, which is making very interesting. In Romania, there are still now, for foreigners, some restrictions. So it's a plus for Moldova. A Chamber of Commerce is there to help companies to start, for example, a company here in Moldova. We have a local person who can help them from A to Z to start up a company, to get all the certificates to start a business. We help them also with recruitment, to find people, which is also not so easy in Moldova, but I think it's a general problem. It's not only in Moldova. We help them with translations, you know, the full support, more as a consultant to start their business. But once they are started, you know, they go their own way.